What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today I am looking ahead to One on Prime Video 21. It's a very good card from One Championship. Again, headlined by Regian Eersel versus Alexis Nicolas in the kickboxing world championship match. There's a few grappling matches as well, and some very good MMA fights. I'm going to take a quick look at the kickboxing and the grappling very quickly at the start, and then I'm going to get to the mixed martial arts and give a good breakdown of a couple of them fights, because there's one fighter, especially in one matchup on this, that I'm actually there's more than that, but one that I really want to pick out and talk about for possible future matchups, and we will get into all of that. But I think it's very interesting what One Championship have done this year, and done honestly in the 21 Prime Video cards so far. I think a lot of the criticism towards the end of last year, or I suppose in the totality of last year, was there wasn't enough MMA fights on some of these cards, and I think, to be fair, One Championship have rectified that, apart from the one the card that was almost all Muay Thai. But they have, how many is it, 4 or 5 MMA fights on this, and I think if it was a card like this last year, there probably would have been maybe 2 to 3 towards the end of last year. So there's definitely that. Plus, they had the massive 166 card as well, which isn't too far off, where obviously they had the 2 title fights. They're supposed to have another one, but that obviously has been moved to a couple of weeks' time, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. But I think One Championship have done a lot better of a job of putting more MMA fights on it. Now, it's funny because it's a criticism that I didn't really notice myself covering it, and maybe I'm a little bit, what is it, too close to the trees to see the wood or something like that, and maybe other people looking at the outside saw it better than me, but it was definitely something that One Championship recognized. We heard Chatri speaking about it, and he has I suppose rectified. The other side of that, though, is I think that for me, okay, I'm an MMA person. Everyone knows that. I'm a diehard MMA fan. I'm not the biggest fan of all the other sports, although especially the Muay Thai, I've really taken an affection to over the last couple of years, covering One Championship here on Sherdog, and I like the way that they're giving an opportunity to some of the biggest names. Regian Eersel is the good example here of one of those people. Like, I watched him a few times now, and it's like, as someone who doesn't know that much about the kickboxing world or the Muay Thai world, you see some of these guys and you think, okay, well, there's a standout. There's someone, I don't need to be an expert in this to realize how good this guy is. And for people like that to be put atop cards and be given headline billing is a nice change, to be honest. Like, for someone like myself, who complains weekly about this next heavyweight co-main event or main event in the UFC Apex, which is just extremely annoying, to give someone who maybe is growing a name, and I'm sure the kickboxing fans out there are probably saying, what are you talking about? Or the Muay Thai fans, maybe from, I was talking about someone else, or the Jiu-Jitsu fans if I was talking about someone else. But to give them a platform and give them high billing, I think is very, very good here. Now, the fact that they're the top 3 matchups here are, none of them are MMA, I don't know about that. But at the same time, that's what they've set out to do, One Championship, and they're sticking to it. And you have to have a little bit of you have to have respect for that. Now, maybe we need to have more tentpole MMA cards. Maybe we need to concentrate even more on MMA, especially at the very top of the card. But One Championship have made no apologies for being a martial arts organization as well as a mixed martial arts organization. And even though my tastes and the tastes of a lot of people probably listening to this are mixed martial arts, it's hard to criticize them for sticking to their guns. Like, I would love, let's say One Championship just did mixed martial arts, right? Or any other mixed martial arts association out there. I would love them to put their cards together like One Championship do. Like, here is the best up and coming guy, or here is the best guy. Here's the best guy in the world at the moment. This guy is the guy we're going to put up there. he is the guy we're going to headline. Or the next, obviously you can't do that for every card, especially with the amount that One Championship and other places do. But here is the guy who's the number one contender, or 2 fights away, or whatever it might be. This lady's going to be fighting Stamp next, or here's Rug's next opponent, or whatever. Like, it feels like that has, especially with the UFC, and now the other organizations are pretty good at it as well. Obviously, PFL, when they have the tournament, is kind of built in to be a bit like that, and now the Bellator Champion Series is obviously going to be like that as well. But the UFC have gotten so far away from it. I think it's refreshing to see it. Like, it's almost as if the meritocracy had completely gone out of martial arts. Because there was always a bit of it before. Like, there was always like, okay, if there was a big fight to be made, a money fight to be made, it was going to be made. But if there wasn't, right, we'd make the fight that should be made. And I feel like now there's very few money fights, and they're still making fights that, that probably shouldn't be made. And One Championship could not be accused of that, and I appreciate their effort in doing that. And it's good to see a guy like Regian Eersel, because like I'll be honest, the last couple of times I've seen him, I'd never seen him before, and I watched him and I was blown away. And the same night I was doing the post-fight press conference for Sherdog, and I spoke to him for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and I came off very well. And I just asked him about and this is as we get into the meat and bone of the fight here as well. I asked him about how he fights. He's kind of his cadence of the fight, and the fight in 5 rounds, and being able to adjust the way he fights throughout it. And he gave a very smart answer, a very intelligent answer, about how you see what's there first, you process it, and then you can get more and more confident basically every time you attack that. And that's the sort of thing that I absolutely love. And if he wasn't in that spot, he probably wouldn't have got that opportunity to say that. So that's absolutely fantastic. And that's the people can only rise if they're given that sort of platform. So he's definitely doing that. Right. I'm gonna break down that matchup first. The other 2 matchups I was talking about there, the submission grappling, the Ruotolo brothers are both on this card as well. Isaac Mitchell and Francisco Lo. Now, I went and I watched a bit of all of these, and I won't come on here and fool my way through a grappling breakdown. I'm just not going to do it. I could do it with the kickboxing, or I could do it with the Muay Thai, and definitely with the MMA. But look, from watching the Ruotolo brothers, I feel like there's a stark difference between the two of them in kind of aggression. I feel like Ty is a very aggressive. Obviously, he's the bigger guy, but he was one of his recent bouts in One Championship. He was fighting a Dagestani guy, and the opponent was trying to kind of rough him up, but he was rougher. He was more aggressive in the stand-up. He was almost slapping him around the place, and I think he's obviously he's very, very good at that. Watched a bit of Mitchell. Mitchell seems to be maybe a little bit less aggressive, but aggressive in kind of going for things. Francisco Lo is a guy who's been around for a while. He's taken on Cade Ruotolo. Again, I'm not going to barrel my way through a grappling breakdown here, but Cade Ruotolo, on the other hand, then, he's talked a lot about mixed martial arts. He offered to step in last time for, was it Sage Narco? Wasn't it? Yeah. In a mixed martial arts fight. So I wonder if, and it does, his jiu-jitsu looks a little bit more MMA ready, maybe, although how MMA ready can jiu-jitsu be in this day and age, but maybe he's getting it ready for MMA, and I wonder what kind of changes he will have coming in here. So look, it's exciting to see the two of them. I think the good thing about the grappling matches as well, they're 10 minutes. They're 10 minutes done. That's it. If you're not a big fan of grappling or whatever, that's so you're gonna have 20 minutes of grappling in the middle of the card, and really that's it. You'd have one heavyweight UFC fight. It goes on for half an hour with the time in the fight and in the middle of the rounds and the walkouts and all, and this goes a little bit faster. So, I like the Ruotolo brothers. I really do. I like the bit of grappling in the middle of the card. So I'll take it. Right, so let's talk a little bit about Nicolas versus Eersel. So, I mentioned Eersel, the one thing I always say about him when he's coming on is his 5-round rhythm. It's just so good the way he moves around and the way he can. It's not that he adjusts to how the fight is going at all. Sorry, a lot of fighters, right? We hear people saying this thing about, they're downloading the info and then they're going to adjust as they go. It's almost like Eersel. It's almost in 3D the way he adjusts. His adjustments forces the opponent to adjust in a certain way, and then he fights in a different way because of that new adjustment. If that makes sense, he's just so good at it. Like there's one one fight he got knocked down, and I was watching it back today, and he knocked his opponent down, and then he kind of started throwing these kind of how would you put it? Maybe longer shots, throwing head kicks and throwing shots where maybe if you could duck forward, it'd be the better way to get out of him rather than moving back, because he's so, he's kind of big and long. And when his opponent kind of ducked forward, and he started throwing knees right out through the middle, and and aside from that as well, his knees in the clinch are just unbelievable. Like there was one fight I watched back of him, he threw a flying knee to the body. That's the type of fighter this guy is. Jabs so well as well. Something you don't see in MMA all the time, a jab to the body. His jabs to the body are absolutely phenomenal. He's so good at it. And another thing is, for a guy who kind of controls fights so well, especially from rounds 2 to 5 and rounds 3 to 5, I suppose especially, he meets aggression with aggression. And the guys who are controlling fight, even who would be Rose Namajunas, who fought last week, she's a very controlling sort of fighter. Now, she did a relatively good job in that fight of meeting aggression with aggression, but still, she's not the type that meets aggression with aggression. She likes to, they're usually not a mix, if you get me. It's a controlling fighter and aggressive fighter are different sorts of fighters. To have two of them, one like Eersel is, I think that's an unbelievable way to fight, and an unbelievable, I suppose, switch to be able to do. And it's mid-fight, it's like mid-combination, it's like mid-minute. Unbelievable. Nicolas on the other side of it, then, he's a really good kicker, I would say. Almighty low kicks, throws spinning kicks and spinning elbows and punches and all of that. His 1-2, look, simple as well. His 1-2 is very, very good. I love his front leg head kick where he kind of leans back. He's almost a horizontal Jean-Claude Van Damme or something like that. Lands it very, very well. But the difference, I think, between him and Eersel is he fights in big moments, but constant big moments, which I think is a big issue for cardio. Like, you cannot fight that aggressively. And it's weird. It's aggressive, I suppose, is the wrong word. I think aggressively in terms of numbers. Maybe not aggressively in terms of like he's walking you down or anything, but he is throwing all the time, whether he's going forward, back, or meeting you in the middle. And that's not easy, I'm sure, to keep up. Watched a couple of his fights, and it has been an issue for him in the past. And he's fighting Eersel, who's able to keep that rhythm and who's able to meet that aggression. I think it could be a big, big issue for him. So I think that'll be the winning and losing of the fight. I think you could see Nicolas winning the first couple of rounds, even the first 1 or 2 rounds, maybe even getting a knockdown or something like that. But I think Eersel will come into the fight and end up winning probably 3, 4, and 5, and taking the fight. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Right, let's talk about some of the mixed martial arts fights on this. And the person I was talking about looking forward to seeing was Ben Tynan. I have a bit of a soft spot for him. He went out there last time against one of my favorite fighters in Jim Won Khan, and he won that fight very, very well. He was able to dominate him, and now he's coming in against Didier, who's a very similar fighter to Tynan. Well, similar in certain ways. We'll get to that in a second, but like you're in the heavyweight division here now in One Championship, and I mentioned earlier on Rug. Buchecha. Maybe even you're going all the way up to the champion. Maybe, Arjun Buller is there as well. Ali Akbari, obviously Malyakin being the champion there as well. There's a lot of big fights. Like the heavyweight division in one championship is absolutely stacked from I suppose mid-range to challenger range to top range. So a guy like Ben Tynan, who's 5-0, let's say he goes 6-0 here, I actually think he could be moved pretty quickly. So this is a guy you definitely need to keep an eye on. Now, how does he fight? Very much wrestling based, Canadian wrestling champion. He fought Will Johnson, who fought in Bellator before he got to one championship. The biggest issue for him, which I think he had tied it up a little bit against Jimun Kang, is his striking. He does get caught an awful lot. He does take a shot, but he does look to have improved on that. Now, fighting in one thing I noticed in during his last fight, which I didn't talk about coming into it, was the ring, and I believe this is in the Lumpinee as well, so that this will be in a ring. The ring benefits him massively. Now, this fight, we'll talk about the matchup in a second, but normally the ring benefits him naturally. But he's like to get the fight to the ground. Very good wrestling, very good ground and pound, vicious. Trains with Curtis Blades as well, who had a great win there not too long ago. Very, very high ceiling, very green. I said it before his last fight, he's very green. Maybe a little less green now, but a guy who I think can go a long way. And I wouldn't at all be surprised if in 2025 he fought for the title in one championship. Now, Duke Didier at the other side of it then, a similar sort of fighter in that he wants to wrestle you at all time. Turns the corner so well. Like his wrestling is pretty, like very good at getting in on that double turn in the corner, driving through you for a small enough heavyweight as well at 232 pounds. Now, let me just check the height. He's 6'4", so he's a tall enough heavyweight. He's actually taller than Tynan, but as I said, 232 pounds, and what if his recent fights is an issue, especially for a guy as big as, when you're fighting a guy as big as Tynan on the other side of it. Now, another big issue here I have to speak about when Didier is his last fight against Jasur Mizur Makadanov. He won 14 minutes of that fight and lost. So, and it was a split decision, absolutely, but the one championship rules where it is a fight scored as a whole, he has a big issue with that rule set today because he does not throw enough. When he gets on top, he doesn't land nearly enough shots, and that's a big issue for him. Now, if he gets on top of Tynan, he has to land the shots because Tynan is a guy who will get up. He will end up on top of you. He will be the one wanting to dominate you. But if you do get to that position, you have to make him pay. You really do. I'll talk about the wrestling in a second. Let's see if this turns into a striker matchup. Who's going to win that? I haven't seen an awful lot from either of them to suggest there will be a clear winner. I have seen Tynan hitting lads hard. I think he can punch well. I think there was a little touch of improvements the last time. For Didier on the other side of it, again, I don't think he's as hard a puncher, but he's probably a little bit more technical. I think it could be a wash on the feet, honestly. And then it comes to who wins the wrestling. I think that'll be Tynan. I just think he's too big and too strong. I think Didier, like if you're to say who's going to take down who, I think Tynan will take down Didier. Like, I think Didier has really good takedowns, but against a guy as good as Tynan, is that going to work? I don't know. And if it doesn't, I think he's in big trouble. For Tynan, if he doesn't take him down, like, I think he can push him against the cage. I think he can use that size. I think he can wear him out. And when I say don't take him down initially, I think he can probably eventually take him down. If Didier doesn't take him down eventually, I don't think it's happening. So, Ben Tynan is a pick for me there. I think he's going to move on to 6-0, and I think he's going to be a contender in that division very soon. Okay, let's talk about Hiroyuki Tetsuya and Valmir de Silva even. And if you're thinking, Shawnee, I have a bit of a deja vu here. What are you talking about? You broke down this fight not too long ago. Indeed, I did. This fight was supposed to happen a few weeks ago. It didn't end up happening. I went down, I watched the card. I was like, where did that fight? Why didn't it happen? I think someone missed the weight, I'm pretty sure. But they've put it together again. And very handy for me. So I could just reuse my notes from the last time. And here's what my notes said. Tetsuya, the Japanese juggernaut, you probably remember me saying that. Very powerful wrestler. Throws that big left hook. Very good leg kicks. Ground and pound is absolutely fantastic as well. And Valmir Silva then, you very rarely find the guys who are as brawny, I suppose, as these two. When you find one of them, but when you have a matchup of two of them, like the Hector Lombard shape, if you want to put it that way, the Silva and Tetsuya are both like that. The Silva, a better, a wrestler as well, but not as good a wrestler, I would say. But I think a little bit of a better striker. He's better leg kicks, more technical striker. Fighting's up in a clinch an awful lot, and I think like the last time I was breaking down this fight, I was, and I can actually check this here while we're at it. I'm pretty sure I gave Tetsuya as one of my bets, just because I thought the striking might be. I gave De Silva, as one of my big bets. It's plus 313 because I thought the striking advantage might be enough to see him through. I think that price, that plus 313, obviously, I'm recording this a little bit earlier this week, so when the betting shows out, we might be one of my bets, and it might be a flyer this week, depending on the price. I think that was too much of a difference in prices. Like these guys. So what's the difference between these guys, right? The biggest difference, I think, between them is, I think De Silva is a way better striker, right? But the problem is, I think Tetsuya is a slightly better wrestler. And if you're a slightly better wrestler than a guy who does like to wrestle, I think you're probably winning the fight, even if the other guy is a way better striker. If you get me? Like, I think they'll both want to take each other down. If they can't, I think De Silva will definitely win. And that's why I gave him as one of my bets before. I think that price is very good. Again, it'll be interesting to see what that price looks like the closer we get to the fight. But look, it's one of those fights. And it's funny because Tynan versus Didier is similar, although I think I'd give you a better call who will win that wrestling battle. But this is who's going to win that wrestling battle? Who's going to be stronger? Who's going to be able to last longer? So like whose cardio is going to be able to last with those big muscles? Whose wrestling is going to win the second round, the start of the second round, the end of the second round, the start of the third round, the end of the third round? Because like, again, this could be the start of the fight. One of them could be winning for 2.5 rounds. Then he gets tired. And if the other one has slightly better cardio, it could be all over. So Tetsuya will probably be a big favorite again. And I'd probably pick the Silva as the underdog price again. But if you're to give me the straight up fight, I will go with Tetsuya on that one. There's one more MMA fight I want to talk about, but there are a couple of one anyway. Muay Thai fighting this now. As I said, I'm recording this a bit early. I think there'll probably be another fight or two of Muay Thai announced, but Jacob Smith is fighting Dennis Puric on this as well. And if, like me, you've been watching a bit of the Muay Thai on Championship over the last while, this is one you'll definitely be excited about. Two absolute beasts. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But when I talk about two absolute beasts, the this women's fight to open it up in the atomweight division is really, really good. Sheehan Razwan against Akia Miura. Miura is probably the person I've covered most in mixed martial arts, I would say, in the last couple of years. Let's see how many fights she's had. Maybe I'm gone mad. Yeah, so since when did I start? In 2021, maybe 2022. Yeah, so since 2021, she's fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. This is her 6th fight. So yeah, I've covered all of those fights and got down her game a few times. And I think I've adjusted to how good she is and where she is as a fighter right now. And Sheehan on the other side of it, then, she obviously has had a good few fights in one championship now, but I suppose the Hirata win to go 3-0 in her last 3 fights, for that to get her a fight with Stamp to then beat Olsen. And then she fought only 2 to 3 weeks ago against Sawada, lost that fight, but put up a good fight in that. This is a very, very interesting matchup altogether. I'm really looking forward to seeing this. So Miura, what would you say about her? Very athletic, a very, very good wrestler. Well, when I say a very good wrestler, sometimes a very good wrestler, but a really, really good grappler. Tremendous jiu-jitsu. And if she gets you on the ground, here you go. Here's the clip. She will scarfold you. She will win via scarfold. She's like Alexis Olenek, 3rd degree black belt. There's the biggest look. She has, again, I'll say this. I think she might have fought in the same card as Tynan a while back, but she is someone who has a massive benefit from fighting in the ring. Especially if there's a tie up and she's given the fight in the middle of the cage. Especially if you're trying to get up and she kind of holds onto in the middle of the ring. If she holds onto the ring, very, very tough to beat her like that. I truly believe the fight against Mangbo would not have been finished in the way it was if that was in a ring. There's just no way, I don't think, that'd be finished the way it was. But still, Mangbo is one of the best female fighters in the world, and mine one championship, and she did scarfold her very, very quickly, and she beat Hirata last time out as well in a very, very good win, and showed extra, I suppose, on what she has as well in that fight. But here's just 2 drawbacks, I suppose, with Miura. If she can't get you down, she has big problems. And I'm a big exponent of looking at fighters and getting frustrated because they don't keep going for the takedowns. Miura maybe goes for it too much. She keeps trying to take people down. And we saw that in the Xinjiang Zhang fight. 25 minutes, she just could not take her down. And it was, she got beat up badly on the feet then. But she has seemingly solved that problem recently, and she's an absolute killer on the ground. Now, Razwan is interesting because her last fight was against Sawada, who is this unbelievable wrestler, and she did very well at the start of that fight, especially, she was able to get positions on top, she was able to land a few strikes. Okay, the longer it went, Sawada kind of took over, and the wrestling game took over, but she will fancy herself coming into this to kind of prove that her anti-wrestling is good enough to keep Miura off for long enough to land her shot. She's very aggressive, a very good striker. She, okay, the record, she's only 1 knockout, I suppose, but she hits harder than that. She's some good submissions as well. She's very, very, very game, and this is a fight that I'm massively looking forward to, if I'm being honest. I think a part of me is saying Razwan's going to win this fight, to be honest. Part of me is saying she has, if she can anti-wrestle Sawada that well, I think she'll have a big chance of anti-wrestling Miura as well, even though, as I said, those problems have been solved recently. But I'm going to go for Miura. I think she'll probably get the fight to the ground, the fight down to the ground at some stage. I think she'll probably get that submission. But it's a fight I'm definitely looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to win as well. And there's all the MMA fights I feel like on this I'd say the betting will be wide enough for them, but for anyone who studied them, I think they are closer maybe than the betting lines would suggest. So those are the MMA fights, the Muay Thai fights, the kickboxing fights, and the grappling matches on One Championship this week. And tune in and watch them. They will be on, obviously, the same as always on Prime Video in the States. Where are they on? They're on watch.onechampionship or watch.onefc.com, I believe, here, and you'll find it on Sky Sports and all those places as well. So, all right, I leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.